Hello, thank you everyone for joining us for our holiday special webinar. We're just going to spend the next few minutes waiting for other people to arrive. In the meantime, feel free to locate the chat box at the bottom of your screen and let us know where you're coming from. Also, let us know if you have participated in any of our other webinars. We're really excited. We've had a lot of people return after each webinar, so we'll just spend the next few moments getting to know each other. And also just for you to know, there is a Q&A box at the bottom. And if you think of any questions throughout this next hour, please feel free to use that specific function for your questions. Katie and Frida will be answering some of your questions at the end of the webinar. So definitely use the Q&A box for your questions, and then any other comments or participation throughout the webinar, you can use the general chat box. Also, I just want to spend a moment and commend all of you for taking a moment during this really busy holiday season for yourself and to learn a little bit more about the holiday season. Awesome, from Vancouver, from Michigan, from Canada. Excellent. Also, this webinar will be recorded, so if there's anything that you want to go back to or you want to share this with a friend or a family member, feel free to access it at our YouTube website, which I will mention again in a few slides. Just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Jessica Harrison. I'm a dietitian at Create Cures Foundation. I'm also the clinical coordinator of our Santa Monica clinic. I studied nutrition, health span, and longevity for my master's program and became really interested in learning about how nutrition interventions can be used to prevent and therapeutically treat disease. I also wanted to share that we have Kimberly Jacobson, who also has her master's in nutrition. She is a dietitian at our clinic. And then I wanted to introduce Frida and Katie, who will be speaking throughout the webinar today. So Frida studied nutrition both in her undergrad and graduate degree. She's a dietitian at the Create Cures Foundation. And during her master's degree, she became really fascinated by nutrition interventions that mimicked fasting and their powerful effects. So then she graduated and continued her education by enrolling in a clinical nutrition PhD program. And she's very interested in how nutrition can reduce symptoms associated with a variety of chronic diseases. Katie is also a dietitian at Create Cures Foundation. She also studied nutrition in her undergraduate and graduate programs. She's been plant-based for over 10 years, and she wrote her master's thesis on plant-based nutrition and cancer. She's also a food freedom and body image coach and enjoys teaching yoga and dance classes. I wanted to mention that this is actually our last webinar of the year. However, you can access all of the previous webinars on our YouTube channel. So feel free to go back to those, share them, and then once this webinar is finished, this one will also live on our YouTube site. I wanted to briefly mention that we're offering a few fall promotions. We're offering 30% off your initial consultation at the clinic. Feel free to use the code holidays22, which will expire at the end of December. And then we're also offering 30% off the longevity master's class. And then from here, Frida is going to start the webinar.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Jessica, for the introductions. So tonight we are going to talk a lot about different tools and educate about how to stay on track and still reaching our health goals during the holiday season that is coming up, or we're almost in it already. I'm sure that a lot of you can relate to difficulties of staying on track during this time. And so we want to prepare you all for this time and how we can continue with our routines and still enjoy the holidays. We're going to talk a lot about some helpful conversations that we may want to have with our loved ones even before the holidays or before a party. And we also, as always, we here at Create Cures, we emphasize a very sustainable approach. We're going to talk about the mindset and nutrition and how it relates to our health behaviors. And then we're going to share some recipes and of course, quiz time in the end. And we will also have a Q&A session. All right, so I would like to start with a few facts before we get started. So first of all, when you think about it, if you think of all the holidays, it's actually 1/4 of the whole year. So it's very easy during the holiday season to think that, oh, well, it's a holiday, it's okay to get off track a little bit, you know, it's just one night, but it's not really only one night. It's, if you think like that every holiday, it really adds up. So that's why it's important to know what you can do to again still enjoy the holidays, but there's different things you can do to still reach your health goals and not get completely off track. So there's actually one study that was looking at 4,000 Americans, and they were asked about if they were concerned about certain things during the holidays, and as many as 75%, which is 1 in 4 Americans, they said they were very stressed financially. For example, during the holiday season, this comes to buying gifts and traveling, and it's a very expensive time of the year. Now with COVID, almost 40% are very scared of getting sick or even transmitting COVID. Mental health or getting along with loved ones, being lonely, and are also some of the concerns that people are experiencing during this time of the year. So, and also especially these days with COVID, and there's a lot of political discussions, and people are talking about like the vaccines, and there's a lot of uncomfortable conversation that people may not want to always have. But bottom line is that during this stressful time, it's important to be prepared so you can still enjoy the holiday season. All right, so if everyone can write in the chat box, what are your health goals? Can everyone write in the chat box? Keep cancer in remission, not overeating. Yes. Still staying on track, to be fit, not to use any medications. Yes, there are a lot of different, Katie, you're muted. There are a lot of different great goals during this holiday season. And I think it's important to also remember that when you are doing things that makes you feel healthy, then you're happier and you have more energy, and yeah, I feel better. Staying healthy, eating right, and exercising. Perfect. Thank you, everyone.
Amazing. Thank you everyone so much. I do apologize. My chat box is not working, but thank you, Frida. So thank you for sharing your goals. And I'd like to make sure that we're all very clear that the end goal is happiness. We all want to feel free. We all want to feel at peace in our bodies and around food. And especially during the holidays, let's think about the goal around the holidays. Do we really want to be hyper focused on these health goals, or is the goal to be really present with our loved ones and to enjoy our time together, enjoying those favorite foods, continuing health promoting behaviors, and feeling grateful, feeling free, feeling at peace, recognizing that our goals need to have a feeling. And at the Create Cures Foundation with our patients, we really make sure that our goals are not just short term, they are sustainable and they do have a feeling, right? So everyone, I invite you to maybe close your eyes, think about it, imagine your Thanksgiving going exactly how you want it to go, feeling really in alignment with your health goals and feeling happy and free and being able to be present with your loved ones. So I'll be going over some health tips around the holidays to continue. 12 to 14 hour overnight fast. This is something that is so simple and significantly improves your health long term, making sure that you look at what time it is when you finish your meal at the end of the day, and then make sure to wait at least 12 hours before you eat again the next day. Highly recommend finishing eating 3 hours before going to bed. And this is going to optimize your metabolic health. This is going to make it so that your hunger and fullness cues are fully functional. You're not just thinking that you're hungry when you're really not, allowing you to curb cravings and even improve your blood sugar control. So taking a look at your clock when you finish your meal, waiting 12 hours overnight is going to help a lot. Something simple we can all do. Also, around the holidays, I know it might be tempting to skip breakfast or to skip lunch so that you can really stuff in all of your favorite foods at that Thanksgiving meal. I do not recommend doing this. This is going to make it so that your blood sugar goes crazy. And when we restrict, we end up binging. And this, yeah, it's really going against a practice of mindful and intuitive eating. A Thanksgiving meal is simply another meal to enjoy. So do get in a healthy breakfast, get in a healthy lunch, and avoid overeating at your Thanksgiving meal. And when you do go down that Thanksgiving buffet, that holiday buffet, I highly recommend to eat your vegetables first, or maybe eat that source of protein. Hopefully there's some beans in there, eat those first. This is going to make it so that you get that edge off of your appetite. It ensures that you have a balanced meal on your plate, and you're just probably going to feel better if you make sure to get those vegetables in. All right, in the chat box, Frida, let me know what people say. Are you someone who thinks that you enjoy food too much? I get a lot of people who say, oh, Katie, I just can't eat this one food. I just enjoy it too much. I'm going to overeat it. I think I enjoy food too much. Yes or no? Does anybody feel this way?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So my tips around this and my coaching around this, if you think you enjoy food too much, you probably don't enjoy food enough. This is a permission slip to slow down and savor and fully actually enjoy. Expressing gratitude, letting yourself taste and enjoy every single bite. When we think that we enjoy food too much, what actually ends up happening is you're going to get that piece of pie and say, oh no, this is pie. I'm going to enjoy this too much. I shouldn't eat this. And then you scarf it down and feel guilty, and you don't even get to enjoy it, right? Because you're already feeling guilty around it. So instead of having that mindset, make sure that you're saying, yes, okay, I'm going to fully enjoy every single bite of this and enjoy your food even more, okay? And then fitting in favorites. This is kind of similar to what I just said. Just reminder that restriction is the number one thing that leads to binging. Okay, when we restrict, we end up needing to overeat. This is a very primal thing. Your body is trying to survive. And let's keep it in mind that no food is off limits. When we put some foods on a pedestal and some foods as good versus bad, we're going to make it so that we're restricting those and then end up binging down the road. And that's simply not sustainable. Okay, so thinking long term, these favorite foods are truly health promoting in the long term. Around the holidays, there might be some alcohol involved. I recommend to limit the alcohol to 1 drink for women, 2 drinks for men is the recommendation. That looks like 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or 1.5 ounces of a distilled spirit. And if you were looking for a healthier option when it comes to alcohol, a dry red wine, something that is not too sweet, that has the most antioxidants, is going to be a healthier option.
All right, great, Katie. So if everyone again can write in the chat box, do you brush your teeth on Thanksgiving or any other holiday that you may celebrate? That's a good question. For sure. Yes. Yes. Great. So I assume that most people will say, yes, of course, duh. I mean, this is actually like a health promoting behavior, just like all the other things that we're talking about tonight. And the thing is that we don't stop our health promoting behaviors, although it is holiday. So this means that you can still stay on track with eating your vegetables. You can still control the portion control and maybe take a walk after the meal or other things that you are doing on a regular basis. So the message is that we want to continue focusing on these health promoting behaviors, although it is a holiday. So yeah, it's important to continue the routines, just like brushing our teeth. It's not like, oh, it's a holiday, we don't have to do it. It's almost like an automatic process, but it's not really automatic because you have you have it put effort into making that a part of your habit, and then eventually it feels like it's automatic. And this should be something that is really non-negotiable, just like brushing the teeth. So one smart trick that I usually tell people, like before they are even going home to see their families or friends, is to maybe bring up this conversation prior to the holiday about that you have certain goals of staying on track. So this letter or email here is an example of a friend that is emailing another friend that he or she is usually drinking a lot with and eating a lot with. And prior to this holiday, the person is reaching out to this person and telling the person about, you know what, I'm taking my fitness goals more serious right now, and I really need your support. And I'm scared that our friendship may be affected by this, but by telling them in advance about your goals, you may get more support. So this is just an example. And then on the next slide, it's if someone wants to start exercising, but they feel maybe their partner is not as supportive. It's like, oh, don't get up so early, I want you to sleep in. Maybe if you write it to the person, they will understand that you're really serious about it. And when you use certain words that as support, and I would feel so good if I really have your support, maybe the partner will understand that, okay, this is important to you, I will accept that. And then you're good to go to stay on your health goals.
Yeah, this is probably the number one thing that patients come to me with as far as reasons why it's hard for them to eat healthily. So if you haven't already, please talk to your family, talk to your friends, and request support. Tell them what your goals are. Yeah.
And we really want to, the goal is that you feel empowered and connected with your friends and family during the holidays. And just by communicating the needs and keeping your loved ones informed, you can enjoy the holiday season without feeling like, oh, now I'm hurting someone's feeling because I'm not eating the dessert that someone made. Not saying you cannot eat the dessert, but if you choose not to eat it, they may not take it as personal if you inform them in advance and telling them that you are on a health journey.
Yes.
All right. Do you fall off the wagon during the holidays? Again, please write in the chat box. I'm sure that some people would say yes, and some will say not really. That's great. Yes, it's probably a good combination.
Okay, do you fall off the wagon during the holidays? I get so many emails during the holidays because people are like, oh no, I'm falling off track. I fell off the wagon. I need help. And this is when I say, hey, this is a journey. This is like a road trip. So see this image, we've got a long road, and let's use this analogy of your health journey, kind of similar to a road trip. Let's pretend that you are driving from Los Angeles all the way to Boston, and Boston is where your end goal with your health is. If you were to rush this process of this road trip and just drink 24-hour energies and Red Bull the entire trip, not letting yourself stop, just going to extremes to make sure you get there, is that really how you want your road trip to go? Do you want to go to extremes and make sure you get there as soon as possible? And if there's a detour on this road trip, if there's really bad weather and you can't see anything, are you going to take a deep breath and slow down and know that you're still on your journey, even though there's a detour? Or are you going to throw your hands up and say, okay, screw this weather, I'm just going to turn around and go back to Los Angeles? When it comes to your health journey, there is no wagon. You're always on this journey, and the holidays are a part of this journey. Are you going to let yourself enjoy the mountains? Maybe you plan it out ahead of time and say, oh, you know what, I'm going to stop and see this. And unexpectedly, there's a beautiful field of flowers and you can stop and take a photo and really enjoy your journey. Are you going to let yourself enjoy the holidays, spend time with loved ones, enjoy your favorite foods, and then be well on your way, continuing on your health journey to Boston? Or is it going to be this stressful thing? You will get there. There is no wagon. When you think you've fallen off, you're actually still on. You're still on this journey. And when we think about there not being a wagon, this is the most sustainable approach that there is. Every time we think that, oh my gosh, every time we overeat or every time we have a piece of pie, we've completely fallen off the wagon, then that wagon is simply not sustainable. We need to discuss, maybe have a discussion, use that code, have a consultation with a dietitian so that you can make sure that the habits that you're implementing are sustainable. I really hope that makes sense. Okay, open up the Q&A box. With all of that said, is it okay to eat pie? Are your dietitians going to tell you it's okay to eat pie?
Let's see.
I'm going to guess you all say no.
Yes, I don't know. Yes.
I don't know. Yeah. So this is a good question. People think that, oh no, I shouldn't eat pie. I shouldn't eat dessert. I shouldn't eat blah, blah, blah. And look at these two thought boxes here. We've got thought box A and B. This thinking bubble A says, Thanksgiving is going to ruin my progress. I'm so scared. I definitely cannot eat pie. Okay, that's one way of thinking. And then the other way of thinking, Thanksgiving is such a fun holiday. I'm so excited. It will be great to enjoy some pie. Open up your chat box, A or B, which is healthier headspace long-term? Which headspace is healthier long-term? Headspace A saying, I'm scared, I can't eat any pie. Or headspace B, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I love pie. Which one do you think is healthier long-term?
Everyone is saying B so far.
Good, exactly. Headspace A is so restrictive, and restriction leads to binging. Restriction, do you really want to live a life of fear, of restriction, of guilt, of shame? Or do you want to live a life of gratitude, of freedom, of peace? And just like we said at the beginning of this webinar, what's the end goal? Is the end goal to be ashamed of yourself and to feel guilty all the time? Or is the end goal to be free and happy? And so I'm glad you said headspace B. And I'm going to go over an article that describes this. But first, I want to explain the parasympathetic versus the sympathetic nervous system responses. So if you've ever heard of the fight or flight nervous system response, this is the sympathetic nervous system response. So this is like a primal response. If we're being chased by a tiger, our heart rate goes up, our digestion shuts down. It's like, okay, we're not going to eat any food right now. We need to run away from this tiger. Let's spike our blood sugar so that our muscles have energy to run away and make our heart race. That cortisol, stress hormone goes up. That's the fight or flight response, the sympathetic nervous system response. Versus, if we're calm, if we're happy, if we're at peace, the rest and digest, the parasympathetic nervous system response gets activated. And in this state of mind, we are truly able to assimilate, digest, absorb our food properly. And this is in a headspace of freedom, of peace, of gratitude. We're not being chased by any tigers. We're not stuck in traffic, freaking out about being late, right? That's rest and digest nervous system response. So knowing this, there's an incredible article from the Institute for the Psychology of Eating going over what happens when you eat an ice cream cone, feeling guilty versus feeling grateful. And let's say you're on a date and you're handed this ice cream cone and you're thinking, oh no, ice cream is so bad for me. I should not be eating this. This is going to spike my blood sugar, and you're just freaking out. Sure, you're not running from a tiger, but your mind does not know the difference between the stress of running from a tiger and the stress of this ice cream cone, really focusing on the fear around it. So you're in guilt, fear, shame, overwhelm. And this is going to decrease your capacity to burn calories and increase cortisol and insulin, right? Being in that fight or flight response. Versus somebody who grabs that ice cream cone and they said, oh, yum, ice cream. I love ice cream. Fantastic, right? Maybe they only eat a few licks of the ice cream and they're like, oh, that was so good. I don't need the rest of it. Or maybe they eat the whole thing. Either way, they're in that rest and digest nervous system response where they're actually able to assimilate and utilize those sugars and the fats from the ice cream. And even without eating, I used to wear a continuous glucose monitor, even without eating at all. I remember sitting on a couch and then realizing, oh no, I need to get on a call. I don't want to be late for this call. I didn't eat anything, and my blood sugar spiked from 90 to 165 in like less than a minute, just from me freaking out that I was going to be late for this call. So your body is going to spike blood sugar if you're in that stress response, and making sure that we're feeling at peace. We're managing our stress as something that's really, really important around the holidays and around the food that we love. Let's not go into this feeling guilty, okay?
Yeah, well, Katie, thank you. That is so important. Like our mindset, whether it's like we're thinking positive or negative, even while we're eating, really make a difference. So I want to highlight a study by Crum and others that really confirm this. And it's a very cool study because it's called the Milkshake Study. So what this study was looking at, participants were giving an identical milkshake of 380 calories. Both times at 2 separate time points. But one time they were told that the milkshake was super healthy. It has so many good nutrients. It was pretty low in calories. However, the second time, the same identical milkshake was given, but they were told that the milkshake was very unhealthy, it was high calories, and that it consisted of 620 calories, and it was all like very high fat and not very nutrient dense type of milkshake. And then the results of this study actually show that when people thought they were consuming the high fat, the high calorie milkshake, the ghrelin levels dropped 3 times more when participants believed that the food was a high calorie, because their bodies believed they were like more full after eating it. So the study really showed that the ghrelin pathway in our body is really susceptible to our thoughts, and the perception someone have about the milkshake after eating it affects the ghrelin pathway. So this study showed really 2 important things. It was the first study that really showed that there was an effect of how nutrition and the physiology interacts with the ghrelin. And then if you believe you are treating yourself and eating unhealthy, then you will feel more satiated. So I think this also really confirms what Katie was talking about earlier with the ice cream cone. Like if you're really happy and enjoying it, you're not going to have the same glucose spike as if you are just, oh, this is so unhealthy and I'm going to really, it's not a good thing for me. So it's a pretty cool study.
Exactly. And I do want to say, we're not recommending that you eat milkshakes and ice cream breakfast, lunch, and dinner as long as you're grateful about it. It's still very important to include healthy foods. And when you are fitting in your favorite foods around the holidays, please don't stress about it.
And I just want to add that that's exactly why we want to like be prepared for the holiday season, because we're not saying don't eat the ice cream, but maybe you can almost plan in advance, like, okay, this one night I will enjoy a piece of pie. I will enjoy it. I will be happy while I'm eating it. I'm not going to stress about it. And then I move on. Whereas you are in the situation and you're overwhelmed. There's 5 different pies or cakes and you're like, oh, I want all of them. And you don't know what to do, So if you plan ahead, you can enjoy it more as well. And your ghrelin levels will.
Yes, thank you, Frida. Exactly. Let yourself enjoy these things and fully enjoy. Exactly, like planning ahead for this. And speaking of planning ahead, let's circle back to our longevity diet approach and some lifestyle takeaways around planning for the holidays. So as I mentioned before, something really simple you can do is that 12 to 14 hour overnight fast. That can really help. And taking a look at your plate when you go to sit down for Thanksgiving, if you notice that it's mostly a huge piece of meat, go back to the buffet table, make sure there's a lot of plant foods and different colors on there. It should for sure be mostly plant foods, and keep moving. It's so nice if you've ever been away for the holidays, when somebody says, hey, do you want to go take a walk? I'm sure everybody, all of your family members and friends could stand to go outside for a little bit and move a little bit, right? So be that inspiration for your family. Keep moving. Prioritizing quality sleep. This really does affect our hormones, our insulin levels, our capacity to digest and obviously continue our health goals and health promoting behaviors a lot. If you're feeling really fatigued or irritable, sleep has to do with a lot. So make sure to get at least 7 hours. If you get less than 7 hours of quality sleep every night, you're 55% more likely to become obese. So be sure to continue to prioritize sleep and try our recipes. So I have created a PDF. And if you could please, Jessica, share that link to the Healthy Holidays recipe PDF in the chat box right now. The PDF has all of these recipes on there, and these recipes are from all different sources. And one particular recipe is a pumpkin soup, and this is from the Longevity Diet book. And these healthy recipes can actually be really easy, right? This soup, you literally are just going to boil your favorite pumpkin or squash and then blend that up with some spices. And it's so easy and delicious. And you can serve this as a side dish at your holiday table or an appetizer or something like that. Okay.
All right, so we're gonna start with the quiz. So our first question is, what is one health promoting behavior you are going to continue throughout the holidays? So something you're already doing and the holiday season will not stop you from this behavior. Walking, that's great. 12-hour fast, wonderful. Eat a lot of vegetables, great. The holidays, all the like Thanksgiving, there's tons of vegetables during this time as well. Pilates, yes, staying active and eating. Exercise,
Awesome.
12-hour fast, perfect.
Good. Thank you for reading those, Frida. Again, I'm sorry my chat box isn't working. And don't forget that one health promoting behavior is, doing all the self-care activities too, right? Whatever it is that you need to help decrease stress and actually allow yourself to take a little vacation during this time. All right, opening up that chat box again. What is one dish that you're going to make? Something that is a little bit healthier, something that you know that your family will like, that you're excited about. And if you're concerned about that, definitely check that PDF out. But I'm curious to hear, what are people making? Healthier options. Does anyone have any?
Brussels sprouts.
Nice.
Yeah. Hummus.
Ooh, hummus is a good idea.
Someone is making nut bars. That's a great snack. Sweet potato with pear. Interesting. That sounds good.
Cool. Okay.
All right. So the last question is, have you fallen off the wagon if you enjoy some pie? No, that is correct. Katie talked a lot about there's no wagon. So you have definitely not fallen off. You will get, yeah.
Exactly. Really want to hone it in for everybody that just because you've enjoyed some pie doesn't mean that you need to throw your hands up and give up altogether, right? Continuing these health promoting behaviors and getting excited about feeling healthy and happy and free, and letting pie be okay as part of your healthy life, right? Healthy people enjoy pie. They're fine. They live their life, So awesome. Great job, everyone. Thank you for paying attention.
Awesome. So now everyone, feel free to write any questions you may have in the Q&A box. There's no questions so far. Katie, are you able to open it as well? If not,
yes.
Okay,
so my
perfect.
chat box isn't working, but my Q&A box is working. Often we get a lot of questions. Frida and I work a lot with cancer patients, heart disease patients, diabetes patients, and we get all types of questions. And we're here for you for the next, it looks like, about 25 minutes or 20 minutes when it comes to answering questions. Usually there's a lot of questions in here.
If only if there's questions, of course.
Right. And if there's none, we can also end this short and answer your questions via email as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised. Usually there's a lot of questions, but
I wonder if it's not working for some reason or something. Interesting. So I got a question that came in that says, can you tell me why goat milk is okay and not cow's milk? So in general, I personally, well, not even personally, in general, I want to recommend an unsweetened plant-derived milk. Plant-based milks definitely have, when it comes to the environment, it's a much smaller environmental impact. I meant for cheese. Okay, interesting. So I do remember something. I think it was in Dr. Gundry's book, The Plant Paradox. He explains this really well. I'll have to revisit his content. I don't remember. I don't know, Frida, if you happen to remember why goat cheese is better for you than cow's cheese. I think it has something to do with the he refers to it as like the uncoupling effect, like the specific proteins and fats in cow's milk cow cheese versus goat cheese. Goat cheese has been shown to be a little bit more favorable, but again, in general, I would recommend that we limit our cheese intake from both goat and from cows and look for a more plant-based option, something that does contain fiber, something that does contain more antioxidants and phytonutrients from plants. And there's a lot of great plant-based cheeses that are based with nutritional yeast, and nutritional yeast actually contains a lot of B vitamins and protein and folate and things that a lot of people are lacking in. So I'd recommend trying to find a plant-based cheese that you like, but I'll have to get back to you.
I just wanted to add that goat milk, I believe it has less lactose in it. It's easier to digest, so that's why people often will recommend that versus cow milk. There's also more nutrients in it. It's thicker and more creamier, but it's easier for the digestive system as well. But as Katie said, plant-based milk are a better option. All right, another question. As a cancer patient, can I use maple syrup to sweeten some dishes? So maple syrup, it's an alternative to sugar to sweeten the food. In the end of the day, your body will metabolize it as sugar, but I would rather do something like stevia instead if possible, just to try to minimize the sugar content. If it's just a little bit, that's fine.
Yeah, when it comes to the maple syrup, try in your dishes, maybe try cutting it in half, try like decreasing a little bit with the maple syrup. And if it is something, we want to make sure that you're having vegetables, that you're having a source of protein. There are ways to hack it a little bit, especially around the holidays when you do want to eat these special foods. You can hack it a little bit so that your blood sugar still doesn't spike. So maybe having some apple cider vinegar that day, or on your salad with that meal, these things can help to blunt a blood sugar spike from high sugar things like maple syrup. And yeah, I agree with what Frida said with the stevia.
And then there's a question, do the plant milks have B12 or just animal milk? So B12 is only found in animal products originally, but plant milks have a B12 fortified or added to the milk. So it's usually found in plant milks as well.
Gotcha.
All right, someone tried Oatly. Oatly is a brand for oat milk. That's also a plant-based alternative. Again, we want to emphasize the unsweetened version because some of them have sweetener added to it, so it could be a lot of sugar, but they also have an unsweetened version, which is already very sweet because oat in itself is sweet.
Yeah, this is interesting. So it looks like there's a question around milk. Is some cow's milk about a quarter cup and 4 to 5 cups of tea for the entire day okay in tea, or does it still raise IGF-1? That's a great question. So I think that, yeah, when it comes to these concentrated, and people don't realize too that milk from a cow is mostly lactose, which is carbohydrate. It's still liquid sugar, right? Like that lactose is milk sugar basically mixed with that milk protein. So yeah, these animal products like milk, especially that's really low fat, it could spike IGF-1. I personally don't know the exact number, that the exact amount of milk that it takes to significantly raise IGF-1. In my mind, if a little bit of milk is going to help you get in really healthy foods, especially if it's just a quarter of a cup and 5 cups of a antioxidant rich tea that has no sweetener added, that could be okay, but I don't know the exact answer to that question.
And then, so if the question is like having a little bit of cow's milk in the tea or not having tea at all, like a little bit of cow's milk is not gonna do a lot of harm, so that's okay. A little bit.
Yeah. Wow, nice. Okay, well, if nobody has any more questions, I want to make sure that everybody does download the PDF, the recipe PDF. Be sure to try all of those recipes, if not for the holiday season, just throughout the year. These are great recipes to try.
Oh, by the way, real quick, I do see some questions in the chat box, and I just want to go over one. Yeah, please write it in the Q&A so we can see it, but I just want to bring up one that is asking about, can you please confirm if you should eat your daily protein in a single meal rather than split it across the day, even though dietitians recommend to eat protein at every meal? So at our clinic, we do recommend to also have it throughout the day. However, if you're exercising, we want to emphasize the majority of the protein after a workout. However, it should be spread throughout the day, not just in one meal. I just want to, the other ones are more comments in the chat box, actually. So
Right. Thank you, Frida. That's a question. We get questions about protein all the time, and it may cause a lot of bloating and gas if you have that much protein at once. And that for sure, overeating in general and eating too much protein at once, that can really spike insulin-like growth factor. So it's a good idea to eat most of your protein, most of your concentrated protein sources, like about 25 to 30 grams of protein. If you're going to eat that at once, to eat that after a workout, a muscle conditioning workout. And for sure, just like Frida said, spread it throughout the day and throughout your different meals.
And then, yeah, there's a couple more in the Q&A. Are there desserts in the PDF file?
Yes, there are 2 desserts. That's a good question. Yeah.
Yes.
What are your go-to proteins? I love peas. I love frozen peas and organic tofu and organic tempeh. But also, just before I continue answering this, and I'm excited to hear your favorite plant-based proteins, Frida, please watch our protein webinar and please set up a consultation with us. You may be eating more protein than you need. A lot of people really get excited about getting in plenty of protein. And yeah, I think that's something that you probably don't need to focus on. I would like to hear all of your favorite sources of fiber. What are all of your favorite sources of other nutrients that you may not be as concerned about, that maybe you should be concerned about? You know, when it comes to protein, you may already be getting in a lot. I hope that made sense.
Yeah, perfect. All right, and then there's a question about eggs. Eggs are also not recommended prior to age of 65. Will eating 1 to 2 eggs a week increase one's risk for cancer? Again, there's never just one food that is going to be the enemy or the reason that someone is getting cancer. 1 to 2 eggs is within like the okay range. However, we always emphasize getting the majority of the protein from plant-based sources because it increases the IGF-1 less than what.
Yeah, this question, it's going to be, I would love to look at your intake. Will eating 1 to 2 eggs a week increase one's risk of cancer? Compared to what else are you eating throughout the week, right? Are you eating plenty of veggies? Are you getting your needs met with specific essential fats and that type of thing? So that's something that me and Frida and Jessica, we do at the Create Cures Foundation, is we see, hey, it looks like you're really going to need to decrease X, Y, and Z and increase X, Y, and Z. Exactly, Frida. We can't just say one food will increase your risk of cancer necessarily. Yeah.
Exactly. But let's say so this is why it's so important to see a dietitian, because let's say that you really love eggs and like you don't want to give up eggs. Then when you see a dietitian, we are able to look at your whole dietary income, like Katie was saying, and we can see how we can fit it in and maybe remove something else and make a realistic plan so you are still reaching your goals, but not increasing any risk for cancer and other chronic diseases.
Awesome. What are your most nutritious grains for a bowl? I like the ancient grains. Good. Yeah. Any intact whole grain. And what intact whole grain means, that means it hasn't been broken down. Like the entire bran, germ, and endosperm of the grain is still intact, versus like, I like to compare like a whole oat groat versus like a instant oatmeal packet. The whole oat groat is a intact whole grain. So anything that's intact, that's whole. I love buckwheat. A lot of people don't use buckwheat. I love quinoa. Those are probably my top two favorite ones. But also when it comes to what's most nutritious, I know a lot of people are trying to avoid gluten right now. But even those like hard red winter wheat berries, if you're okay with rye, if you're okay with wheat berries, the intact whole grain of that, and pearled barley, these are so yummy, and they do contain gluten, right? So we don't want to eat gluten if you are gluten sensitive or celiac, but I love those, and they're really, really nutritious. They're super high in lots of different minerals like iron and vitamin E and even zinc. So yeah, getting in those different intact whole grains like rye and barley are actually really yummy. That's a good question.
Great. All right, I think that is it for the questions.
Yeah, it looks like there's some other really specific questions, and please do email us. And yeah, if you have a specific question, please set up a consultation or send us an email. I would love to answer your more specific questions separately. Okay. Let's see.
Thank you, Katie and Frida. That was such an amazing webinar that helped us to establish a really balanced mindset going into the holiday season. I know that I took away a lot of really useful tips, and I hope everyone else did too. I just wanted to reiterate that we are offering a fall promotion off of 30% off the initial consultation. So I definitely encourage you to take advantage of that. It does expire the end of December, so feel free to reach out before then. And then we're also offering 30% off the longevity masterclass. This was the last webinar of the year, so thank you for everyone for joining us for all of the webinars before this. And we are starting a new program for our webinars in January, so please follow along and join us in January. Okay, these are references, and thank you everyone so much for joining and taking this time to learn a little bit more of how you can support your health over the next few months. And we look forward to working with you either one-on-one through initial consultations or speaking with you through our webinars again. Have a great evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you.